Welcome back to another session of the Hopry. My name is Mark Starr, and tonight I've got a beer for you that I'll tell you, man, I've had a few of these sitting in my fridge for a while, and I kind of, every once in a while will open one of these up and just, have a great time. It's by one of my favorite breweries. This will be, I think, probably the first time on the Hopry that I've reviewed a brewery twice. This is by Founders. It is actually, you know what? We did the Cerise, we did the Breakfast Stout. This will actually be the third Founders beer. So I think that'll probably give you a good idea of how much I like Founders. But anyway, this is their triple IPA. It's called the Founders Devil Dancer. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about this particular beer, and when I say this beer, I mean this actual bottle right here, is that when I bought this 4-pack, I bought 2 4-packs at the same time, got them home, went through the first one. When I got to the second 4-pack, you'll notice that the label was put on upside down. Now, my first thought was, oh, they made an error, I can't believe they didn't catch it. But then I thought, it is called the Devil Dancer, so maybe they put them upside down for a reason. It's the only 4-pack that I've ever seen like that. So I don't know, guys, do I win something? Do I, is this worth like $10,000? I don't know. But anyway, it was quite a surprise for me. And anyway, this is a really, you talk about double IPAs or Imperial IPAs. This one goes even further than that. This is like literally, taking a hop flower, cutting it in half, and licking it. It's insanity. Now, the thing about this one is it's been out probably 3 or 4 months now. So a lot of those really high-end aromatic hops have kind of started to die out a little bit over time. But what you're left with is a huge amount of malt backbone, which really kind of reminds me more of a barley wine than a Imperial IPA. But this one doesn't have, as much of the caramel flavor as a barley wine would have. I'm going to go ahead and open it while we're kind of talking about it. But, it has similarities to a barley wine, but it's a lot hoppier. Yeah, lots of, I'll pour it out and talk about the aroma here in a minute. But anyway, so I've mentioned this before, here pretty soon. By the time this airs, I will probably have already had our beer and cheese tasting that my wife and I are having here at the house. But we're actually going to pair this with one of my favorite blue cheeses. It's called the Fourme d'Ambert. Now, you probably saw me eat this and review it with the, what was the sour ale that we did not too long ago? Oh, the La Folie. That's right, we did it with the La Folie, the only other session I've done with cheese, I should know. But anyway, the caramel and the sweet and the huge hop aroma really pairs nicely with these blue cheeses like this. So again, this is one of my favorite blue cheeses. So I thought, let's go ahead and pair it with this one, which is again the same one we're going to do at the beer and cheese tasting here at the house. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get my nose in there and let's see what we got. Tons of hops. These guys, when they set out to make this beer, I'm sure that they wanted to compete with beers like Dogfish Head. Dogfish Head's a 120-minute IPA, because really it's the only other hoppy beer that I've smelled or tasted that really just went to the extreme. Now, I will tell you, and I'm sorry, Dogfish Head, this one really kind of puts the 120 to shame. I think the 120 just kind of goes a little too extreme and ends up tasting like, varnish or nail polish. It just, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but maybe I'll review it one day and share it with, it's not bad, so, don't get me wrong. But anyway, the color on this one, it's really a nice roasty coppery color. If you think of like a real shiny coppery penny, and make it a little bit darker, or in fact if you take a creme brulee and you torch the top of it and you get it to that perfect amber red color. That's what this has going on, and it's pretty clear. There's a slight amount of haze on this one, pretty good amount of bubbles in there as well. You can see just with a gentle twist of the glass that it gets a nice soft off-white head on it. Not a whole lot of head, you know, maybe 3/4 of a finger. But nonetheless, a lot more than you would expect from a beer that is 12% alcohol, which is what this one is. And I think the IBUs on this one are 112. So, you know, quite bitter. But again, I think they add enough of the caramel malts in there to really kind of help balance that out. But getting lots of the citrus hops, so, you know, like the mango, the pineapple, papaya, a lot of those citrus hops in there. There's some pine and that grassiness in there as well. I can even really kind of smell the malts. Again, I know they've had to add quite a bit to it, but I mean, I'm telling you right now, this beer with this cheese is probably one of the single best beer and cheese combinations out there. If you can find the Formed and Bare, which I'm sure you can, if you can somehow get a hand on one of these Devil Dancers, do it. Because when you talk about these really strong blue cheeses, you need a beer that's going to stand up to that. Now, I would imagine that a barley wine would probably do it as well. But I really like the way the citrus hops are kind of playing off of this blue cheese. It makes me think of perhaps having a salad, you know, like with some spinach and mixed greens, some roasted pecans, maybe even some pears, with a good amount of this Formed and Bare, and drinking it alongside this beer with the hops. And I just think that that would be an amazing combination. So, you know, obviously the amount of hops in this makes it a really, really heavy beer. And it needs to be. But that's why I think this combination goes so well, because this cheese really needs something or somebody to stand up to it. Otherwise, it's just going to take over everything in its path. But these go really well together. I think it's the caramely sweetness and that nice aromatic that you get from the hops that really pairs with that pungency, that saltiness of the cheese. Yeah, it's a favorite. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, if you're somebody who really loves hoppy beers, and I'm talking those guys out there when you ask them the question, you know, how much is too much, and they're like, there's no such thing as too many hops, this is your beer. Because again, and I don't mean to put Dogfish Head down, they do a lot of great beers. The 120 to me is just too extreme for its own good. You know, it almost doesn't taste like hops anymore. This one really tastes like hops, and it tastes like really good hops. And you know, again, the amount of sweetness that's in this beer, wow. I mean, I really love this beer. You know, this is probably a 96, 97 point beer for me, easily. When it's fresh, I would say maybe even 98, possibly 99, you know. I would say the thing that really kind of keeps this from being a perfect beer for me is just pure drinkability. You know, you can't just sit down and have 3 or 4 of these in a night, which, you know, that's not always the intent. But anyway, love this beer, founders. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. If you're following me on Twitter, you can go to twitter.com/thehopry. Always go to my website, www.thehopry.com. Look for some Formed and Bare. Get you a Devil Dancer and have a good time. We'll see you later. My name is Mark Starr. Bye-bye.